everything that I do. Bloody glass I'm laying in everything that I do. Hey, really was a thing. Bloody glass I'm laying in everything that I do. Hey, really was a thing. But people say like, people say it's not the people. It's you need to know don't you know
I know you made it. What the fuck? I don't know what that was. Who the fuck is this? Who's Jimmy Hernandez? I don't know still. I said oh, but I said oh.
Maybe you go up, maybe you go another time, another one at a time, baby. Go up, maybe you frame, picture frame, picture frame, maybe you go and picture frame, maybe go up, what's my name? What's my name? Who's the name? Who's the name? Who's the name?
It's really stuffy in here. Oh yeah, I don't know what I'm doing. I'm not doing anything right now.
Ask me why I'm doing that. Why should I tell you again? Again, I tell you again. Why? Should I tell you right? Again, no, you didn't pray to pray. You go up, pick to the bang. Everything I do for you. Everything I do for you.
I hate these things. It's not gonna work for me.
Doesn't matter where I go, niggas don't leave me alone. They ain't about my clothes, probably hurt my throat. I'm not one to stop and go. Baby, I be on my go. Baby, I be on my guess it's in my soul. Out of my control. They just won't leave me alone. They won't leave me alone. Boys, they leave me alone. Girls, they wanna watch me go. They won't leave me alone. 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 Doesn't matter what I do. I'm here to make a feel hard. Be on the list like all the this. They never leave me alone. Anywhere that I go, absolutely any day. They like that I'm on the way. They never leave me alone. They won't 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 leave me alone. It doesn't matter what I got or what I do. I'm in niggas here. Keep on believing. I won't forget the worries. I don't forget to leave me alone. Anywhere that I go, any day. Watching like I'm on the runway, right way, day, never leave. They won't leave me alone, boys. They won't leave me alone, girls. Protect this freaking crown. What the fuck? Back to the church, back to the church.
I have questions. I'm gonna write lists of questions and make question videos. Hey, Lo, you trying to get out? My cat needs to get out. I use this argan oil and tea tree oil, and it kind of made me itch more. It's 11:04. At 11:11, I wish for Tina, and I love you, Tina, and I miss you. I always love you, and hopefully I won't always miss you. I can't wait to hug you again. I think we deserve that. I look so weird from this perspective, like I'm like a small, weird person that isn't on the street. But yeah, and I am not happy. It's fucking hot in here. It's stressing me out. It's stressing me out kind of badly. I see you again, too. I always love you. And your sister. Sorry. I suck. I have to smoke a cigarette to get my voice prepared to suck. And I think that I put a couple chapters. We left off with TC and Julian, which was like chapter 9 or 10. But right now.
Don't only post the best things, and I take the fucking most days. Photographers in the sky, and photograph my tickets. Pictures of my ashes on my face and otherwise. Tell me I got pretty eyes.
The last worksheet that I drew for you, Tina, was Jesus is love for Easter. We went to church for Easter, and you both look so pretty in your dresses. I really gotta prep my voice. It's not ready for this. Anyway, I'm gonna conclude that by saying I do think about every single moment of every single day, Tina. And I always will. This tattoo ached when I just said that. Funny because underneath this tattoo is the name Justin. I can still see it. It's still there, yeah. It's trying to escape. So I know I'll see you again. I love you so much. Take the fucking most pics. Photographers in the sky, and I photograph my dick pics. The rest is on my face and otherwise. Tell me how to really hurt. Really hurt. What? What? Boys have to be crybabies. But you have to be mean because if you're nice, you'll get taken advantage of. That's fine. I don't even know what that means. I like literally don't know what that means. Like, did that sit you really right? So you said you were. I don't know that means either. I don't. Of course I'm going broke by 15. Never fails. You can't help it somehow. My skin's really dry. So try not to judge me for that. My eyes actually feel pretty good right now. I wonder what Cyrus wants to do with his life. What he wants to be when he grows up or whatever. And how that could be compromised by some sort of blackmail. I want to expose my secret. But I've got everybody else's. Believe me. I got it. Wow, that's funny. So he hates this. I go back in time, baby boom, yeah, baby boom, ouch, ouch, ouch. I wish for Tina. I wish for Tina for the whole 60 seconds and every other second too. I used this beat twice. I had to.
We always pay her crazy. Zero to the 100, crazy. Going on so amazing. That's what it is. Sexy, crazy. That's how it is. They turn crazy. That is me. I'm so amazing. And I'm crazy. Take us away, oh God, love. Crazy. Then I'm mistaken. You are not sad. I wanna be your sunshine. The only one you. I'm a baby queen. I'm wrong. I'm wrong.
I'm gonna have to hold it.
Chicken standing for the brown light. Something to myself that she ain't proud as I am.
I had got some fucking water. Look at that. OT Dubs, my love. That was very sweet. I like it. That's a bad idea. Excessively bothering it is bad. I have to learn to leave it alone and let it live its life, because apparently it has one. Just, my skin's dry, it itches. This cat is so fucking annoying, I can't stand it. Which one? Ugh, shit. Good question. I don't need a snooze for the fucking alarm because it's not gonna be 11:11 anymore. Now all I have to do is make a wish for 60 seconds. And I'm already doing it the rest of the time. It's just 11:11 is significant. I need that not to happen again though, because get out of my room! It's gonna piss me off. And you won't like me when I'm angry. Fuck. No. No. Stupid. Stupid, I'm telling you. I'm not smart. What minute are we on? 24 minutes. Mm. 30 seconds. Ugh. Trying to stay focused because it's hard. Not running up close to clean these. Generally. I'm actually, I'm still over here failing. I'm so sorry. I'm a failure. 26 minutes. Chapter 11. The beach. Sam, are you here, Sam? With nervous anticipation, Ivy Winthrop crossed the deserted sands on the very edge of Harmony's public beach. Following the violent curve of the shoreline, she braced herself when the jutting landscape forced her out into the night tide. The waves were chilly as they washed over her bare feet and ankles, but she pushed forward, hiking around the natural jetty, then up the rise that led to a network of rocky coves. That's still too loud, isn't it? Only a few Harmony residents actually knew the history of Harmony's rugged shoreline. Tabitha Lennox, of course, being one of them. Thousands of years before, a destructive tidal wave had slammed into Harmony's rocky cliffs, gouging out chunks of soft earth at their base. When the water finally receded, a network of natural coves remained behind, situated far enough from the Atlantic shoreline to remain dry, even during high tide. In the 1700s, roving bands of pirates used the coves to hide booty they'd stolen from cargo-laden ships, venturing it into Boston and New York. Much later, during Prohibition, bootleggers used them to smuggle alcohol down from Canada. Such illicit activity had created a strange sort of eerie karma around the dark, craggy rocks. Ivy didn't know much about the cove's history, but she felt the weird aura and always shivered when she neared them. It wasn't until she saw the small fire inside of one of them and noticed the folded blanket and large athletic bag sitting nearby that her nervousness eased. When her gaze finally fell on the Harmony lifeguard windbreaker, all trepidation was replaced by a warm wash of affection. Ivy sighed, knowing this windbreaker was the one Sam had worn the summer they'd fallen in love. It was still hard for Ivy to believe that she and Sam could be so in love now. During most of their high school years, they'd never met. Of course, back then, they were traveling in very different circles. Sam's world was public high school, football, and hanging out with his working class Harmony buds, while Ivy's was private school, horse shows, and helping her mother with local junior league events. On the other hand, since she turned 13, Ivy had been utterly fascinated by a less refined sort of male. She smiled at the memory of how she and Rebecca Osborne used to salivate over the hunky local fishermen's sons they'd see around Harmony's Harbor and Lighthouse Park. Ivy herself had never done anything more than giggle over the steamy possibilities at a slumber party, fantasize from a distance. What other options did she have? With a politically prominent father, thank you. With a politically prominent father and socially connected mother, Ivy had been handed a life full of imperial expectations. Winthrops must maintain a respectable image. She'd practically learned that from the crib. And from the day she reached puberty, her life had been packed with formal fundraisers, charity auctions, and political picnics. She learned to float through difficult social situations without even thinking. Like a young swimmer who'd learned complicated strokes by watching her parents cut through the water for years. When she finally turned 17, Ivy was more than prepared for her coming out ball. Her mother and grandmother had bred her to understand the expected protocols of the debutante ritual: what to wear, what to say, how to act. And Ivy was determined to emerge triumphant at her debut. Over a dozen girls in their region were presented in Ivy's year, including 2 daughters of congressmen, 3 daughters of state senators, 4 daughters of important corporate executives, and a distant relative of Jacqueline Bouvier Kennedy. Town and Country even covered it. All the other girls were pea green with envy when the magazine ran Ivy's photo a half size larger and posted the caption, "Miss Ivy Winthrop, presented by former Governor Harrison Winthrop, daughter of Helena Revere Mott Beaton Winthrop, DAR, and Harmony Junior League president, the most captivating belle of this ball." Her mother had been so deliriously proud. She cut out the magazine page, laminated the thing, then matted it, framed it, and displayed it on the mantelpiece beside her most precious antique, her great 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 grandfather's glass and case musket from his days raising hell with the Minutemen. One little town and country caption as good as declared her the most eligible young lady in the region. Droves of young men were sent by their parents to call on her. All were the right sort, according to Ivy's mother and father, but Ivy found a lot of them conceited and tiresome. Not one appeared capable of loving anyone or anything more than their own reflections. Her mother tried to give her some gentle advice, the kind you'd find in a 1950s dating pamphlet about listening to the boy and reflecting back to him how interested she was in everything that he was interested in. "Mirror, mirror on the shelf," Ivy used to mutter to herself on the most dreadful of those dates. "Look into my eyes to see yourself." When summer came around, she was relieved to decline the dates with the excuse of throwing herself back into her writing lessons. After one particularly hard jumping workout, she decided to refresh herself with a swim. She'd biked alone down to Harmony Beach and dived into the Atlantic surf without a second thought. Ivy was a good swimmer and quickly kicked far away from the shore when her limbs began to stiffen, however. Wait, that's a whole nother sentence. Ivy was a good swimmer and quickly kicked far away from the shore. When her limbs began to stiffen, however, it hit her how stupid she'd been. She'd already exhausted her body with a strenuous riding workout, and now her abdomen was cramping and her legs and arms were giving out. She immediately turned around to swim back, but with an undertow working against her, every painful stroke now seemed useless. Ivy had never felt the kind of stark fear that overcame her during those agonizing minutes. A few pathetic cries for help were all she could manage before the waves smashed painfully into her face, sending salty seawater into her mouth and up her nostrils. She fought to stay afloat, but the ocean's unforgiving current dragged her down, closing a curtain of black over her head. The next thing she knew, the sun was in her eyes, and a lifeguard's mouth was sealing itself over her own. A moment later, she was coughing up what felt like a gallon of seawater. Sam Bennett had saved her life that day. She'd never forget the lantern jaw and stunning blue eyes looming over her. But more than that, it was the look in those eyes, the expression, concern and fear, and something more. Sam hadn't just saved Ivy from drowning. He'd fallen instantly in love with her while doing it, and she'd seen it right there in his honest, open eyes. Eyes filled with the kind of fearless courage and loyal devotion she'd never before encountered. From that moment on, Sam had become Ivy's hero. "I'm here, Ivy." Finally, hearing the deep, firm voice she knew so well, Ivy shook her mind clear of her memories and stepped behind the dark cave wall to find Sam moving along the shoreline. He was carrying a huge armload of driftwood. Ivy laughed, knowing he must have walked more than a mile to have gathered that much. But it meant their fire would now last till dawn. A stirring tension touched Ivy's body at the thought of all the hours now in front of them. Hours and hours to lie in Sam's arms. The sky's twilight blue was deepening, but the full moon's ivory face was large and bright, hanging just above the indigo waves and giving Ivy plenty of light to admire the approaching man. His red swim trunks, revealed thighs, corded with the heavy muscles of an active football player, A worn gray Castleton College athletic shirt was stretched tightly across his hard torso. The tightness of the cloth revealed the attractive bulges in his upper arms and the thrilling breadth of his chest. Ivy licked her lips in anticipation. Shake a leg, Bennett, she called playfully. The fire's going to die out by the time you get your butt in here. Can it, Winthrop, or I'll put your skinny little limbs on the fire instead. Skinny, I'll have you know I've been doing push-ups. I'll lay odds I can arm wrestle any alpha into the ground. Arm wrestle alphas? Don't make me laugh. Sam smiled as he approached her. They'd be too afraid of breaking a nail. To hell with you, Bennett. I'll take you on. I'm not afraid. Oh, is that so? Sam teased as he dropped the wood and moved toward her. Not afraid? He asked, looking down. She could feel the warmth of his breath on her cheek. Well, maybe you should be. The kiss was hard and possessive. Ivy delighted in the knowledge that Sam was as hungry for her as she was for him. His large hands pulled her closer to his body, and she curled her arms around his neck, eagerly pressing her soft breasts into him. He groaned with the feel of her. Suddenly, her tongue slipped out to taste him with a teasing lick. The intimate touch undid him. Sam broke away, his arms gently holding Ivy a few inches from him, his lungs taking in short, shaky breaths. Let's slow this down, he whispered. I can barely control myself around you. You don't need to control yourself, Sam. I love you. I want you. And with that, Ivy reached for the edges of her t-shirt and pulled it over her head. The yellow bikini top hit the sand next. Sam swallowed, his knees feeling weak as he gazed at the beautiful girl in front of him. The long curls glistened in the firelight as they spilled over her bare shoulders and naked breasts, dusky pink nipples peeking through the lustrous strands of white gold silk. You look like some magical, unearthly thing, whispered Sam, like a mermaid, too beautiful to touch. Don't say that, Ivy told him, reaching out for his hand. All I want is for you to touch me. Sam moved closer, his eyes fastening on hers as she guided his large hands to her body. His fingers absently brushed the antique chain of the locket she always wore close to her heart, the one he had given her, the one with his picture inside it. He smiled. Yes, she whispered encouragingly as his rough fingers moved over the full ripe swells of her breasts, then slowly swirled, teasing the tender halos at their tips. With a delicious playfulness, Sam held Ivy's gaze as his fingers stilled a moment. Then he flicked his calloused thumbs across her sensitive nipples. With deliberate slowness, he inflicted the exquisite torture, listening with triumph to Ivy's throaty moans and ignoring his own body's shuddering response. Ivy felt herself growing almost dizzy with the sweetness of the sensations, the intimacy of Sam's penetrating blue gaze. Tilting her head back, she parted her lips, then moistened them with her tongue, inviting Sam's kiss. But Sam didn't kiss her. I said, we should slow this down. He teased, his thumbs moving once more over the aroused nipples, which had already tightened into hard little buds. Oh, you think so? Ivy asked, her voice unsteady as she reached for Sam's shirt and tugged upward, unveiling the sculpted male muscle beneath. Now it's my turn, she decided, tossing the shirt aside. Using a feather-light touch, her slender fingers moved slowly over the contours and grooves of Sam's torso, tracing a path from his broad shoulders to his heavy collarbone, then down his smooth, tanned pectorals and abdomen, hardened from a disciplined weight-lifting routine. Ivy watched his face carefully, taking satisfaction in the sweet torment she was now giving him. Careful, Ivy, Sam warned tightly as her hand dipped lower. She responded with a nymph-like laugh and an even bolder reach. Snaking along the front of his swim trunks, her fingers delicately traced the evidence of his arousal. Sam's eyes closed at the incredible shudders her touches were creating. Suddenly, his hand moved over hers and closed firmly around her fingers. You're an impatient girl, he scolded. Ivy's lips pursed prettily. So sue me, Sam Bennett. I've waited long enough. Sam laughed as he gently tugged her down on the sand and pulled her beneath him. You need a lesson in patience. And do you think you have enough patience to teach me? With a growl of defeat, Sam yanked the small plastic square from the pocket of his swim trunks and tore it open with his teeth. Ivy's eyes twinkled with gleeful triumph. If Sam Bennett wants to give me a lesson in patience, it's certainly not going to be tonight. In less than a minute, the rest of their clothing had formed a pile next to the fire, and Sam was again covering Ivy's body with his own. Okay, like, fuck. That was uncomfortable. That was chapter 11, and I had to take a break to take a cold shower. You know what I'm saying? To go read the Bible. I don't know. Chapter 12 is called The Promise. I'm gonna break the heart. Reading aloud. Not aloud, but like reading aloud is loud. Y'all know. No, no, I'm not Billy's anymore. I'll save you. I'll save you. I can't bite this apple. I don't know what those are. Like the window? Oh, the window. There's, oh, yeah. You know what I'm saying?
So I'm like, okay, whatever. So I put it in.
Why didn't you use it?
Because he didn't want to come. He really didn't what happened. I'm like, okay, so I get the bed as close as I could in the grass. He comes over and hangs it over and kind of keep it. It doesn't hit anything. Or I mean, like, it hits me, but it hits it like this. Bow! Fucking explodes. Trash all over. I mean, if I now I know to tell him no. He said some stupid shit like that again. You're not making it. You don't do that. I do that. But yeah, I had to sit there and fucking pick up all the trash that exploded out of this thing. It was a big ass thing. Plus, I had to wait for him to come down to bring me a new trash bag from his residence. By the time that happened, I already fucking collected all the trash from that section. Yeah, we've been out of town for 3 weeks. We got like 3 weeks of trash. Now, what the fuck are you doing?
I wouldn't have caught it. I'll probably caught it like later.
Yeah, we've been gone
For 3 weeks ago, we got 3 weeks worth of trash. What?
Like how?
You was out of town where? In the dimension behind your dress?
Well, was you like somewhere where it had a portal? Oh yeah.
I can't do that. Ever.
No, you can do it like on the auto, and they'll just randomly pick one.
It don't matter because I still got to click those buttons when I use that and I can't.
No, I don't think you have to. Because like if you do auto, see like it's starting to tell you if you do dual auto, Play the organ. It's just gonna ring and pick one of those yourself. You're not gonna have to do it. That's like with
Manga?
this. Now he has that special move where like bang.
Sometimes they don't do shit.
No, like I have it set where it's on auto, so like I don't have to hit those buttons. It does it itself, but it doesn't always go fully through.
All of a sudden, I don't know, I wasn't know you heard me. I just don't know. Halo was the only one I couldn't get out earlier. And I opened the door, and I was like, hey, look it up, because I like flipped out. And I told Jackson, I was going to flip out. Jackson ain't in here. I got in bed. I had told her I was going to flip out. I'm like, get the fuck out of my room, please. Because seriously, I'm going to flip out. Jackson. And I know she know what that means. She didn't leave. I flipped out. I was like, I could claim it under the bed anyway. And then I didn't see her obviously when she left. So I had to go out there and make sure she left. And then she looked at me, so I threw the room at her. But she was downstairs. So they all ran away. It was 3 of them. They were looking at me. And then I was like, why are you looking at me? Throw the room. Fuck, bitch. I said get the fuck out. The fuck? And it was hot and it smelled weird. I mean, it's still hot and smells weird. But it's not as hot as it was. It's probably just laundry. I can't be nothing else. This is my skin burning off of my face. Yeah. Oh, what minute we at? Okay, what we at? I got 2 minutes.
Yeah, I didn't know that was enough.
Oh, I figured it could have been. But I didn't want to do it, so it didn't matter. Earlier, I wanted to smoke, and I was like, I want to get high all the time. I just want people to get me high. You know what I'm saying? Let me get me high. Let me get me high. Like, that doesn't mean come and make me do things. You know who knows how to do that, Brian? I should call him. Maybe. Jackson hates the ladies. Don't kick her fucking ass. What she do?
No, that was just Bailey. And Axel.
Oh, it don't matter. Nah, it's back Jackson bitch ass and lay on the bed. And like, this other one lay right here. I'm like, just throw those clothes on the floor. They're dirty now. And then no, Jackson pissed me off because oh yeah, the bed. Oh yeah, so I wasn't gonna say nothing to her about being on the bed though. And then I like when you go to the bed, and she like ran. Like, she's like, I'm like, bitch, you gonna misbehave like a fuck because it's in the league, and you gonna use the shit out of me. And then I come up in your face and you gonna run from me, bitch, I will kick you. I will kick you across the room. I swore it. Like, Billy, you're making me. Yeah, don't make me. I don't know what I want to be informative and
I mean, I haven't had like a broad variety. You know what I mean? Because I try to stay away from stuff. You know what I'm saying? But like,
Come on, bro. Like the first time, the worst thing ever.
Yeah, you know if you do that, the draw, you know where it says draw on your little list.
Yeah.
If you put that on there instead of your items, you like draw with it like magic or something from the but I think it's a continuous thing.
Yeah. I use items mostly, but I use draw for some too. I just don't understand. Hey, can you hear me? Can you hear me? Can you turn it down? I'm late. How's that even possible? My face is like working through some things. It's like detoxing, but it can't detox because I'm toxic. And I do toxic things. Not detox, so it's basically a sport party. I'm gonna punch something. Chapter 12, The Promise.
I just saved your life.
My life? Oh.
That shit bloody blues.
Hours later, Sam held Ivy against him as they reclined on the beach, listening to the lapping surf and eating chocolate-covered strawberries, Ivy's favorite. Sam had lovingly packed them, along with a bottle of wine, into a small basket that he'd hidden in his athletic bag. The fragrance of jasmine perfume tickled Sam's nose as he studied Ivy's beautifully shaped mouth. Her lips curled automatically with the memory of where she'd used that sweet mouth last on his body. The delicate skin of her throat tempted him to dip his head. With his lips and tongue, he explored the length of it, ending at the vulnerable hollow above her collarbone. He felt her hand begin to stroke his chestnut hair. Sam kept it short for this summer, for ease, he told Ivy. By the end of fall's football season, however, she'd once again be needling him into letting it grow into a shaggy style more in keeping with the modern 1970s fashions. He'd smiled as he felt her hand move down his body, tracing the contours of his chest, heavily muscled from his daily workouts. His years of playing football and the constant training in dangerous ocean currents to remain a qualified Harmony lifeguard. Sam would always value that lifeguard training, especially when it came to Ivy. He could still see that image of her, so lost and vulnerable, the day he pulled her from the water and laid her gently on the sand. "Can you breathe, miss? Can you breathe?" He'd never before saved anyone's life. The emotional impact of it had stunned him. He'd never forget her wide blue eyes, so innocent, searching his face with gratitude and affection. In an instant, he'd become her knight, her savior, her protector. It was a role he'd never before experienced. His father had, of course. Ben Bennett was an Army veteran, chief of Harmony's police department, and the undisputed man of the house. Up to that moment, the only way Sam had ever seen himself was as his father's boy. But on the beach that day 2 years ago, after diving into the chilly Atlantic waves and pulling Ivy out, Sam had slawed off his boyhood skin. In Ivy's eyes, he'd become a grown man. And weeks later, on the very same beach, they lovingly pledged themselves to each other with their hearts, minds, and bodies. Sam's fingers stroked Ivy's long blonde hair and felt her fingers dipping down below his chest, below his abdomen, between his legs. For a moment, the air left Sam's lungs. "Can you breathe, Sam?" She whispered with a mischievous smile. "Can you breathe?" "Yes, barely," he answered, his voice slightly shaky as he closed his fingers around hers and gently tugged them free. They'd get back into the love-making soon enough. But for the moment, he wanted to talk to her about his news, that he'd been offered a job on a Winthrop marine fishing boat for the summer. "You read my note?" he asked her. "I read it, Sam. And if you want my reaction, I don't like it. A fishing boat could keep you away from me for weeks at a time. That's not what we planned. I know, Ivy, but it's a great opportunity. I couldn't say no. There's a lot going on this summer. I'd hate for you to miss it. I'm on the Junior League's planning committee for Harmony's Independence Day celebration, and Alistair Crane is actually flying in fireworks experts from Hong Kong, said Ivy excitedly. That man is so generous. Sam sighed in barely veiled disgust. What's wrong? The Cranes. What about them? Don't be too impressed with them, Ivy. They're not what they seem. I admit Julian is far from a candidate for sainthood, but then again, he's not all that different from a lot of guys I used to date, and my parents are close friends of Alistair and Catherine Crane. What do you mean they're not what they seem? Sam wanted to tell her, but he just didn't know how. The truth would only point out to Ivy just how different their two worlds were. Yo, side note, it's not a martini, it's like a Mark Kristen. Okay. But like we all come from two different worlds. So like when you like go and like date somebody in your own town or on your own street or in your own state or in your own city, or someone that like grew up just like you're still from two different worlds. So like when you bring in more extreme differences, like I don't know, heritage, like India, Pakistan, someone from Pakistan falls in love with someone from America, it's a problem. It's just a problem. All right, continuing. Sam wanted to tell her, but he just didn't know how. The truth would only point out to Ivy just how different their two worlds were. Few of Sam's friends even knew that. Wait. Who starts a sentence with few? I hate that. It's like, few. Why not a few? You know what I mean? Okay. Few of Sam's friends even knew that the Bennett farm, which had been in their family for generations, had been foreclosed on by the Crane Bank during the Great Depression. Sam's grandfather had been barely overdue with a payment when the Crane lawyers descended like vultures. Grandpa Bennett had begged and pleaded, called upon the Cranes at their mansion, asking them to be good neighbors and friends to do the right thing. They didn't. The Bennetts lost everything. Sam's grandfather had been forced to move into town and work in the Cranes' cannery, while the Cranes had built 4 tennis courts. Sam's father, Benjamin, left without a farm to inherit, had eventually joined the local police department. But that wasn't Sam's only lesson in the Cranes' way of doing things. The summer before Sam turned 15, he was pedaling his bike home one evening from his after-school job at the pizza shop when he came upon a strange sight. 2 other teenagers, well-dressed in sharply creased khakis and immaculate knit shirts, were monkeying around with a stop sign at one of Harmony's intersections. Hey, what are you two doing? Sam demanded, pedaling up to them. Get lost, snapped one, a skinny blonde. Yeah, beat it, said the other, who was darker haired and better built with forearms that were so well developed it looked like the guy played golf or tennis all day, every day. Like Julian. Maybe Julian and somebody. Oh yeah, his friend Tommy. His best friend Tommy, who likes to date rape girls. But Julian doesn't date rape them, he just tells them to do the drugs and they do them. Oh yeah, I didn't even see it. It is though. Sam recognized both the young men. The skinny one was Tommy Biddles, and the better built guy was Julian Crane. Everyone swallows the smoke. Everyone in Harmony was impressed by Julian. He was the eldest son of Alistair and heir to the Crane fortune. But Sam knew another side of the guy. Ben Bennett's police cruiser had been pulling over Julian's new Corvette all summer, warning him to slow down and stop running light. Sam remembered how angry his father had been one night, railing to his mother, Margaret. You know what that cocky kid said to me? One does not issue tickets to a Crane. Can you believe that crap? That boy's going to put somebody in the hospital if he's not careful. Sam watched Tommy and Julian working. They had some sort of metal cutting saw and were trying to cut through the stop sign's post. Sam knew he had to do something, but what? Swallowing nervously, he glanced around. There was nobody else on the street. He could run home and get his father, but by that time, the sign would be down. No, it was up to Sam himself to handle this. Okay. Hey, don't mess with that sign, Sam commanded loudly, still straddling his bicycle while trying to imitate his father's voice. That's public property. Hear that, Julian? Said Tommy, laughing. Listen, Julian replied. In this town, public property just means the Cranes own it, too. So beat it. Sam was a strong kid, but this was 2 against 1. Still, he remembered his father saying that part of police work was taking command of a situation. Even when a suspect is bigger or there's more than one, an officer can get them to back down. The trick is getting them to understand the consequences of their actions and to respect your authority. Somebody's going to get hurt or killed with that sign down, Sam asserted in his most authoritative voice. You know who I am, don't you? I'm Police Officer Bennets' son. At once, Sam knew he'd said the wrong thing. Julian Crane dropped the saw and turned toward him. Hey, Julian, isn't that cop the jerk who keeps giving you speeding tickets? Yes, it is. Sam's eyes narrowed on Julian. My father's not a jerk. What are you? Challenged Julian. A mini version of your stupid flat-foot father? Sam's fists clenched. He had never before heard anyone insult his dad. Everyone in town respected Ben Bennett. Ben. Uncle Ben's rice. Look at this, Tommy. Go to Julian. That jerk cop Bennett has gotten so lazy, he's sending his son out to do his job for him. Yeah, he must be too busy eating donuts. Or banging some Harmony housewife. Sam's bike fell to the ground as he flew like a guided missile straight into Julian Crane's stomach. The impact sent both boys backward into the grass. The rest happened too fast for Sam to remember much. Julian and Tommy were both on him at once, sending blows to Sam's face that knocked him out cold. She ain't pretty as I am. Let the petty pass, respect the fam. Yeah, I couldn't say right there. I had to get on there, and I tried to go back, and they was like, "Nah, you ain't going nowhere." You're not going, huh? Oh, you ready? Oh, man. Don't gotta text back. I know the past is past. But if you do text back, the past is still past. It's all I'm saying. I sing all my words so sweetly, but I say them in real life really sarcastically, passive-aggressively, demanding, and loud. And I'm super hot still. Yo, you know who still loves me? My ex-husband's still into me because I was the worst. Like, I was like, demon. You know, like, and he was like, yeah. You know what I'm saying? He was like, hell yeah. He was like, that bitch crazy as a fuck. She mean as fuck. You should probably leave her alone. I could have did anything to him and he never loved me. Anything. I had an idea, but I didn't do it. I didn't do it. Okay. When he'd woken up with a black eye and a sore jaw, his head was pounding and lights were flashing. Julian and Tommy were long gone, along with the stop sign. And in the 15 minutes that Sam had been left unconscious on the side of the road, 2 cars had collided in the middle of the intersection. Damn. Sam still remembered the giant silhouette of Ben Bennett approaching him in the flashing red and blue lights of his police cruiser. His father always did cast a long, tall shadow. And Sam felt then, as he did now, both nervous and proud to be in it. He told his father everything, of course, except for the insults. Sam worshipped his father and could never repeat those awful things the boys had said about him. After his son and the accident victims were given medical attention, Sam's father finally ascended Raven Hill. When he knocked at the door of the Crane Mansion, Ben found a summer party in full swing. Apparently, one of the night's party games had been a treasure hunt. Someone had come up with a list of items around town that 3 teams of partygoers had to retrieve. One of the items on the list was a sign. Julian and his friend Tommy had decided that stealing a stop sign would be a funny gag. A prank, an unfortunate prank, but one that can be rectified. Apparently, Alistair Crane himself had given that explanation to Sam's father. And in the privacy of the mansion's library, Alistair gave Ben Bennett something else. I like random little crumbs. No, they feel like they come from me. Mr. Probably did. No, we'll never know because they fell off. No, let's think about it. And also, assume that it came out. What? Which one is that?
I gotta go to some place and destroy this freaking G army.
You did this already? Did I? Well, then it is hard.
Make sure I get something every time with me.
You were on toilet. You guys have been on toilet. I remember being on this thing and like for days or whatever. And then like you were in the bathroom, so I was like X. And I was like, but okay. They're not getting long. They're some of them are long, some of them are not. It's got 330 something pages. Here's something in my mouth. I'm not having babies already. I'm gonna keep them safe from my eyes. I just feel better right now. I don't know why. Like not right now, but like when I started this video an hour ago, my eyes felt better. And now I'm just really ignoring them really hard. But I know they have babies in them, and that's disturbing to me. So you wanna stay a while? I do. I don't be bailing. I have bailed, but oh man, it's so hard. It's so hard. I'm just very considerate person. And niggas be tripping. And by niggas, I don't mean that word as a derogatory term, not made for YouTube. I mean people and boys. When I say people and boys, I just mean boys. And when I say boys, I mean men and boys. / males. I mean, if you, never mind. All right. Sorry, guys.
So here it is.
What?
After we laugh when you got the show. Oh, it's coming. It's coming. I ain't nowhere. Yes,
Yeah. My baby. Like hell. Okay. Yeah, I don't want to. Yeah, well, no, I know it fell out. I don't know why. Yeah, I hit that shit and then like a quarter. I'm like, whoa, on camera. They're like, cameo. Oh shit, man. 1/11/11. No. That's my birthday at 11/11. I wish you did. All right. So sorry. What minute are we at right now? I really keep swallowing it. It's like I'm drinking. I'm drinking smoke. Which isn't always bad.
Just inhale this shit. What do you do?
Don't get to my lungs. Milk and bitter drink. Stuff.
Yes, it can.
Oh, wow. It is nice. Sorry about that. That happened yesterday too. It probably will happen all the time. You know what I mean? Like, like, okay, video on YouTube, by the way.
Take gun comes back to you.
Yeah, I just put it over and it was like, pops. I didn't see that or feel that because I guess I'm high. All right. As well as the smoke again, guys. It's in my brain. Okay. Holy crap.
Yeah.
Okay. Alistair gave Ben Bennett something else. Officer Bennett came back down Ravenhill that night, not with Julian and Tommy in handcuffs. Officer Bennett came back down Ravenhill that night, not with Julian and Tommy in handcuffs, but with a fist full of cash for the accident victims and Sam. I don't want it, said Sam. He was humiliated, angry. Son, it's $2,000. Sam looked up at his father. That was a hell of a lot of money in the Bennett house. And they both knew it. Sam would have to deliver pieces part-time for 6 months to earn that much. But Sam was furious over what had happened. It's a bribe, he whispered, holding his father's hard stare. I don't want it. His father thrust the thick wad of bills into Sam's hands. Take it. They took it from us. But put it in the bank. For college. College? You've told me that you want to be the best police officer Harmony's ever had. Well, to become the best, Sam, you need to get an education. A degree in criminal justice. Then use your knowledge of the law to take the Cranes down. You hear me? Be a better man than me. Sam couldn't see how he could ever be a better man than his father. Sam had loved and admired the man from the day he was born. All he ever wanted to do was make the man proud. Sam agreed to take the money, and eventually he applied to Castleton College just as his father wanted. That night, Sam went to bed thinking he'd heard everything his father had to say. Then later, lying awake, he overheard Ben's voice. It wasn't loud, but it was angry. Quietly, Sam crept to the half-closed door of his parents' bedroom. I know it was wrong to accept the money, the promise of a promotion to chief when Fletcher retires, but don't you see? I want Sam and the boys to have a better chance than I did. There'll come a day, Margaret, when the Cranes will never again be able to rip off or buy off a Bennett. I won't be seeing that day, but Sam will. I swear to God he will. Sam didn't quite understand what his father meant that night. But as he grew older, the picture became clearer. Alistair Crane controlled everything in Harmony. He sat at the head of every board: education, banking, commerce, even the board that determined the police budget. Crane held the livelihood of Sam's father and the fathers of Sam's friends in the palm of his hand, and he seemed to enjoy playing with them, all like pieces on his own private chessboard. Stefano DeMera likes chess, and that whole description of Alistair sounds like Stefano. And also the guy from that one show, Riverdale, who I can't remember his name, Hiram. His name's Hiram. Hiram Lodge. Fucking every show has that fucking guy. Ooh, what's that one guy? What's my guy? I just said his name. Wilson Fisk. That was my penis getting wrecked. Sam, what about the Crane, Sam? That was like all thoughts while he was with Ivy. Like I forgot we were there. Oh, sorry. The light feminine voice brought Sam back to the present, to the private little beach cove and the vision of Ivy's naked curves reclining in his arms. The earlier pounding of high tide had now gentled to a soothing rhythm. Sam echoed that cadence with each stroke of Ivy's long, soft hair. Forget it, sweetheart, said Sam softly. It's not important. Not anymore, and certainly not to us. Okay, so let's talk about what is important to us. I want to know how you got this job with my father's company. I mean, I've been very careful about you talking to my father. He knows I'm seeing a wonderful young man, but I've never mentioned your name. I'm sure he thinks I'm seeing one of those bozos who came calling on me after my coming out. So how did Winthrop Marine get your name? Chance, honey, that's all. I filled out an application at Calston College's Summer Jobs Network. I guess some supervisor of your dad saw that I was a young, strong guy with lifeguard experience who was capable of manual labor, so they called me. Right, a coincidence. Ivy's voice was unhappy and suspicious. A lucky one. This work pays very well. It'll be the beginning of our new nest egg for the future. As far as Sam was concerned, this summer job on a Winthrop Marine fishing trawler was their future. It would earn Sam enough money to take Ivy away from Harmony and start a new life elsewhere, away from her family, her sorority, and all those social pressures that Ivy seemed to be ruled and intimidated by. Ivy shifted uneasily, clearly still digesting Sam's news. Sam, you know my trust fund will be free as soon as I complete another 3 years at Rutland. Ivy, I've told you before, I don't want us to live off your trust fund or anything else that's a handout from your family. We can make it on our own. I just need to graduate from college first, and I'm a year ahead of you, which means we can get married in just 2 years. Unless I can come up with the money to set up a home for us first, thought Sam. And he honestly believed this chance to work one of her father's trawlers for the summer could do it for them. A good month of hauling could yield a crew member as much as $10,000, and Sam hoped they'd keep him on for the entire summer. With that kind of payoff, Sam could afford to marry Ivy and set up a house with her as early as the coming fall. Sam wanted to tell Ivy his plan, but he wasn't sure yet about the money he was going to earn. It all depended on how good the fishing was. He knew it would be better to wait these few short months, earn the money, then surprise her with an engagement ring in September. Sam, I know how you feel about my trust fund, but it's so much money. You can't just turn your back on it. Ivy, please. Let's not argue. Like I said, we can make it on our own. And we will. He got me fucked up. Ivy was silent for a moment. Because, yeah, that's what she was probably thinking. Studying the stars. Like, is this life? Then a thought seemed to occur to her, and she shifted to face him. Her eyes were wide with excitement. Listen, Sam. My father gets reports on all of his boats. I'll bet if you do an outstanding job, the captain will write you up, and my father will see it. And don't you see? Then he'll understand what a great guy you are. I can finally introduce you, and maybe he'll begin to consider that you're the kind of guy who can take over the family business someday. Ivy, you're dreaming. You know how your father feels about anyone who's not a card-carrying member of Harmony's Country Club set. It's possible, Sam. I don't want it to be. Listen to me, honey. Really, listen. I'll say it again. We can make it on our own. I can support us. We don't need your father's money. Let's not argue. Not tonight. Yeah, you're right. It's our last night together for a long time. Sam pulled her close and smiled. You can think of better things to do with those soft lips of yours than argue, can't you? Ivy's mouth was on his before he'd finished the last word. By the first light of dawn, they were sated and exhausted. Promise you'll write to me, Sam, whispered Ivy as they gathered their things and prepared to part. Every day, I promise, Ivy, I'll send my letters out every time we dock. I'll cherish them all just as I've cherished the notes you've left me in Harmony Park. And you'll write me too, asked Sam. Of course. We'll be following the fish, but I understand this captain likes to dock every 2 weeks or so. You can send them to me of the harbor master's office in Halifax, okay? Ivy nodded, too emotional to speak. Don't cry, honey. I shouldn't be away for more than a month, 6 weeks at the most. We're sure to head home by then, and I should get a week or two notice off before we go out again. I have to tell you though, there's a slim chance, very slim, that we'll be chasing the fish straight out as far north as the Newfoundland. In that case, I might not see you for 3 straight months, but I honestly doubt that'll happen. The waters of the coast are teeming with good catch. Ivy nodded again, silently drinking in Sam's loving smile as if it would be her last drop of fresh water for years. Kiss me, honey, whispered Sam, seeing the longing in her eyes. And Ivy did kiss him with all of her heart, more certain than ever she would be in love with Sam Bennett for the rest of her life. Up on Coast Road, Harrison Winthrop started the engine of his luxury class Lincoln Continental and pulled away from the sandy shoulder that bordered Harmony's public beach. He had to get out of there fast before his daughter noticed him. Exhaling in disgust, Harrison tried to banish the disturbing image he'd just witnessed of his innocent Ivy emerging from the secluded cove where he'd watched her disappear the night before. Seeing the passionate way she'd thrown her arms around the Bennett kid left no doubt in Harrison's mind what had gone on inside that cove all night. Harrison's hands were wrapped around the Lincoln steering wheel, clenched so tightly his knuckles turned white. I hope you enjoyed my daughter, you young bastard, he muttered, because I promise, when you come back from that fishing trip I've arranged, she'll never want to see you again. I've arranged she'll never want to see you again. When you come back from that fishing trip, I've arranged you're never going to see her again. What's that about? Yeah. Yeah, they're low. They come low as fuck. I mean, it's good. I mean, I don't know. I guess I just like to run in circles until I get invincible. You know what I'm saying? Basically, immortal status. Intermission before chapter 13. Chapter 13 is called The Bargain. So we've concluded in chapter 12 that Ivy's daddy ain't having it. Alistair Crane wants her to be with Julian, we know. So I'm pretty sure, he's going through a rough patch in the financial, blah, 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 etc. So, like, Ivy's going to end up being forced into a relationship with Julian. But he's probably going to, he said, I've arranged that she'll never want to see you again, which means that he's going to, like, catty Karen that shit on some burn book status and make her think badly of him. Not so. But really, it's Tabitha. Tabitha and Alistair. I think she likes him too. She's got like a crush on him. I don't know. Timmy said that.
Oh, yeah. Like a melody. No offbeat, I'd rather be just dance with me. You can get America's monarchy. America's monarchy. Hey girl, Down with Regina George. Put the bitch right in the mold. Bullshit I see. That's for me. Oh my God, take it such a bitch. Better watch your tongue, watch your tongue, watch your better. Watch your motherfucking tongue, watch your motherfucking tongue. Such a bitch, I didn't care. It's Katie. I'm on my way to the yard. Oh, yeah. I hear it. You're gonna see what you're gonna see. And you are the truth. You're gonna see up top, you're gonna see vanity.
Wait, oh yeah, you gotta save it before you start, and that's it though. Like, fuck. Oh my God, what the fuck? I could have saved it like 1 minute prior. Selfie? You could play with me, I think. I don't know, you might have to. I didn't try to. Yeah. I mean, it don't matter. You gotta love him. The captain. Is that what they got? Some things are still the main. And you want believe me, I'm pretty worried. I'm revolutionary, don't you want? I'm that boy. You know what I'm I adore you for the truth in you, for the bravery in you. Follow you, never point of view. Anything for your love, your love, your love, your love, your love. Believe me, I'm grateful. Your love, you get a nice leg. I know, bitch. I was getting it. He was in bed.
I know I was falling to my end. And would heaven let me in? Oh, yeah, yeah. Could have been way further in the air when I fell. I could have drowned. I'm not sure of what exists. This script presentation. Her grace on the earth. I am unsure. Like human trust. What would Jesus do? What was Satan's plan? Could have used more pixie dust. Oh, I'm so stuck. Doesn't even show. This is the Christmas. Oh my God, even worse. It could always be worse. Preparatory office. Try to ballet on riding in a hearse. What would Jesus do? What was Satan's plan? I wish I had more pixie dust. And God, I trust. I wanna know. I wanna know. I'm a beast and I'm a king. It's crazy. Does my temperament upset your interests? Daddy, I want another pony. Don't care how, I want it now. You know how. I want it now.
I don't think that button works very well. It understands that I really don't ever want to turn myself down. Chapter 13, The Bargain. A few miles away from Sam and Ivy, Julian Crane was tightening the tasseled belt of his red silk robe as he strode into a glass-enclosed terrace. "You wanted to see me, father?" asked Julian, doing his best to hide a wide yawn. Alistair was seated before a perfectly steeped pot of green tea, watching the dawn break through floor-to-ceiling windows. "Rising to see the sun in all its glory brings glory to those who rise to see it," the Crane patriarch announced, quoting one of his ancient Eastern philosophers. You said that wrong, right? Mm-hmm. Julian sat down. The hour might have been fine for a man indulging personal Japanese warlord fantasies, but it was horrifically early for an Ivy League playboy. "Would you care for a cup of green tea?" asked Alistair, waving over his personal valet. "God, no. Espresso and plenty of it." Julian tossed to the valet. "And have Cook toast some brioche for me, won't you?" "I don't believe Cook has risen yet, Master Julian," replied the valet. Julian simply stared. "Yes, of course," the valet muttered with a sigh. "I'll wake her." "So, father," Julian paused to yawn again, "what did you want to discuss?" At this ungodly hour, Julian wanted to add, but was careful to put the brakes on his tongue before the words passed his lips. His father was a mercurial man with little patience. Hey, that's me. And Julian had too much to lose not to obey his every word. Jeez. "I know it's early for you, my boy. But now that you've graduated from law school, you should discipline yourself to keep the hours I do." "Well, perhaps at summer's end. Asia is 13 hours ahead of us, Julian. Get used to it, if you have any illusions about ever taking over the family business." "I don't think I understand. We have no interest in Asia, do we?" Julian tried not to flinch under Alistair's withering glare. "Why do you think I've been studying Sun Tzu and reading Shogun?" "Because you've gone off the deep end," Julian thought, as he watched the valet place the steaming cup of espresso in front of him. Julian practically pounced on the black brew, desperate for the caffeine to jolt him alert enough to face what was clearly shaping up to be another one of Alistair's little tests for Julian. "In war, one must understand the mind of one's opponent," explained Alistair. "But you're running a business, father, not fighting a war." "In business, Julian, and one might argue in life, everything is war." Get off me, you making me itch. Dog? It's not a dog, it's a cat. I call it dog. You just threw me off, making me itch. "Yes, I see, father. Brilliant philosophy, just brilliant." Alistair sighed in disgust. "Don't try to humor me, Julian. I know you don't yet grasp what I'm talking about. But if you have any expectation of controlling the Crane Empire, I do expect you to have the sense to watch and learn." "Yes, of course, father," Julian said quickly, and as sincerely as he possibly could at 5 o'clock in the morning. "Of course." "Listen carefully, then. The world economy is shifting. Japan is rising as a powerful market force, one we must invest in, and Hong Kong is another area of untapped profit. It's time the crane industry's shipping arm established a steady trading route to Asia." Julian shook his head, grateful that he was finally feeling the effect of the espresso's caffeine. "Forgive me, father, but our fleet is taxed to its limits now, and building more ships is hardly a practical investment with the current tariffs on new steel." Alistair nodded. Very good, Julian. Now you're using your head. Thank you, sir. But I still don't understand your plans. You just said you wanted to expand our shipping to Asia. How do we do that without new ships? We do it with more ships, not necessarily new ones. I see. No, you don't. Not yet. Julian's eyebrow rose. The valet brought his brioche toast, and Julian wasted some time buttering, then chewing, so he could think. His father wanted something from him. Julian could sense it, but what could it be? And more importantly, what will it end up costing him? Or me, because I'm in his head and I'm him. Okay. Alistair remained silent, simply waiting for his son to ask. Finally, Julian did. What don't I see, father? You don't see how you can help me, son. You do want to help me, don't you? And the family? And our business concerns, helping us broaden our global interests with the least possible capital risk. Yes, father, of course, but how can I, with an alliance, my boy? I don't understand. Winthrop Marine has a fleet of ships valued at over $80 million. Ew. Quite an asset. Unfortunately, my old friend Harrison, though he was quite capable of running the state government, can't quite get the hang of running his family's company. Unless, of course, it's into the ground. His own wife and daughter don't even know it. But even his personal finances are a shambles, and he's in danger of losing everything. So I've made him an offer. Julian's eyebrow rose. You want to buy his business? Alistair shook his head. Outright buying would be a disaster. There's nothing but debt. Anyone who tried to buy business at this point would have to sell off every ship to pay his debt. But there's another way to keep Harrison out of bankruptcy and still control his ships. And this involves me. I want you to become Harrison's son-in-law, Julian, and so does he. It will assure a smooth alliance of our two family businesses. Within a year, maybe two, my global market plan will erase the Winthrop Marine debt, and Crane Industries will double its worth and have its international foothold. Son-in-law? Julian had stopped listening from the moment his father had spoken the words. You mean you want me to marry Harrison's daughter? It's time you settle down, son. I really must insist you follow my advice in this. Julian took another slice of toast, buttered, chewed, and with great difficulty swallowed. But father, really, I hardly even know this girl. Get to know her. This summer, take a few months to court her. I know the ritual sounds old-fashioned, Julian, but I think you'll find that she's a lovely young woman, well-bred, with good taste and good looks. She'll give you attractive children, raised well, and as far as your personal... Wow, I do not know this word. I don't want to attempt it. Why couldn't he just say, like, escapades or some shit? A small, relatively unimportant offense or sin. Pronounced.
Peccadillo.
Cool. That's what I was gonna say, but there's a restaurant in St. Louis called Piccadilly's. A small, relatively unimportant offense or sin. The sexual peccadillos of celebrities aren't necessarily news. Peccadillo. Fuck. Okay, that scared the shit out of me. And as far as your personal peccadillos, you're a grown man of the upper class. The middle class likes to cling to its little narrow-minded moralities, but for men like you and me, Julian, indulging in affairs with other women is expected practice, as long as they're discreet. Father, really, I'm not so sure I'm ready for marriage. Julian, this isn't a marriage. It's an arrangement. I'll be frank. I had the same words spoken to me at your age. What? You mean about I didn't love your mother, but her family's business was something my own father wanted in the Crane portfolio. It allowed our local concerns to broaden to national ones, and now you'll help the Cranes go global. Do you see, Julian? Julian was still reeling from his father's announcement that he didn't love his mother. Son, listen to me. If you ever want me to leave you in control of the Crane fortune, then you must prove yourself worthy of the reins of power just as I did. Start showing some maturity. This business alliance between you and Ivy must take place, and I expect your full attention on this merger all summer. But Father, enchant Miss Winthrop. It's not difficult to pretend you love a young woman, Julian. There are tricks, believe me, I know. I used them on Catherine. And incidentally, the Crane Jet and Bermuda Resort are off limits as of now. Julian nearly gagged on his brioche. Oh my god, my fucking eye. But Father, you know how much I make use of the jet. You use it to seduce young women, Julian, and I forbid you to see any woman but Ivy until she accepts your proposal. Ivy, repeated Julian, rolling the name around on his tongue. He had enjoyed making a pass at the little blonde during his party yesterday, until she publicly rejected him. He reminded himself, and he'd vowed to tame her in his bed. She is quite attractive, admitted Julian. Yes, Julian, quite. Even so, it's only right I offer you the same perspective my father offered me. What you do after your marriage is your affair, or affairs, as the case may be. Mhm. Julian contemplated his predicament by weighing his own lust for the Crane fortune against his father's stubborn will. The process of consideration might have taken longer, but when Julian factored in his own lust, it wasn't so difficult to agree to his father's bargain. More espresso, Julian said with a crook of his finger at the valet. You'll agree? Asked Alistair. Oh, well, I suppose so. Anything for you, father. Besides, thought Julian, the quicker he persuaded Ivy to marry him, the quicker he would regain his access to the jet, the Bermuda resort, and most especially, Eve. Catherine Crane stood as still as a statue. It's not difficult to pretend you love a young woman, Julian. She had risen early when she'd heard the men stirring and followed their voices to the glass-enclosed terrace, stopping just outside the doorway to eavesdrop. How she wished she hadn't. There are tricks. I used them on Catherine. She should have been devastated, standing there in the chilly hallway of the Crane mansion, her fisted hands jammed into the pockets of her thin silk robe, but she wasn't, just cold and numb with the realization that Alistair's secret didn't surprise her enough. I love you, Catherine. How many times had he said those words in the last 25 years? Hundreds? Thousands? But in her heart, had she ever completely believed them? Catherine knew she could always pack her bags and leave Alistair, but she also knew the consequences such an act would likely bring. A Crane would never stand for the shame of being abandoned. Alistair would destroy her for it, frame her for her child abuse or adultery or some other awful thing. And if Alistair used Sheridan as a weapon, Catherine would never see her beautiful child again. Catherine couldn't risk that under any circumstances. She loved the little girl with all of her heart and needed to be around to protect her from the Crane way of twisting every new generation. She had failed with Julian. She vowed she wouldn't with Sheridan. You did make your choice 25 years ago, Catherine reminded herself. She'd willingly entered into an alliance with a crane, and now she was strapped to it like a puppet tied to its master's crossbars. Overwhelmed with regret, Catherine wanted to rush in and tell Julian the inheritance wasn't worth it. She wanted to call Helen Winthrop and tell her to make sure her daughter Ivy chose what truly mattered in life. But Catherine knew what she had to say wouldn't matter, not to Julian or to Helen. Catherine's own mother had tried to warn her about the cranes. And I have like all kind of crap in my home stretch, I think. Catherine's own mother had tried to warn her about the cranes, but Catherine had wanted it all. Wanted to believe in the fairy tale of wealth and power coming with love and passion too, and none of it with strings attached. Of course, nothing would change now that she knew Alistair's true feelings. The marriage would go on as it had before, just as civil and just as empty. No difference would be evident as they played their parts. And it was that sad fact that depressed Catherine the most. Sighing softly, Catherine swiped at her dampened cheek. She had risen this morning, wanting to join her husband and son for breakfast. But now she turned back in the direction of her bedroom, wanting simply not to want anymore. Perhaps she'd take a Valium to calm her nerves, and in the afternoon when she woke again, there'd be little Sheridan to love. Yes, my angel, Sheridan, thought Catherine with a numb smile. Perhaps today we'll go to Harmony Park. Julian showered after breakfast and a hard workout with his tennis coach on one of the crane's private courts. Then he went to his closet to select his clothes for the day. Spying the Gucci shoebox on a high shelf, he couldn't help but pull it down and gaze at the photos of Eve he'd taken in Bermuda. Truly a shame, he whispered, gazing at her lustfully. Too bad, my Lady Day. I guess I'm forced to shelve you for the moment. A voice inside Julian, a considerate mother's voice, urged him to write Eve a letter, telling her he'd been called back to Harmony on family business. But another voice in his ear, one with the ruthless tone of his father, told him to think better of it, deciding she'd get the idea when he'd stop sniffing around the blue note for her. Finally, a third voice seemed to manifest itself inside Julian's head. It was his own. To hell with it. I can easily yes father to death and still find some way to see Eve. Not right away, of course, but later in the summer. I'm sure I'll be bored to tears with that prickly little Ivy by then.
Fucking T-Rex with shit. They're not wanting to pop out.
I be the best. I'm just a rebel with a cross. No causes, not a fight for it. I know it. Looking for failure, but dying. All free is such a free is unique indeed. I'm so addicted.